about your plans for the agriculture sector.
Okay. Initially, let's start with the vision. We are, and some basis, we are the biggest rice importing country in the world. The biggest in the world. And the per capita consumption of rice, I don't know the exact statistic, has increased. So 92, you have the specter of a population increase. Well, when I was in grade school, there were about 40 million. Now we have 92 million Filipinos eating more rice per person. Okay. Number two, I believe that we can still have, there's a big prospect for food security. If you free conflict areas in Mindanao alone and allow farmers to plant, support them with adequate infrastructure to the tune in central Mindanao perhaps of 12 to 13 billion pesos. And that's called the Central Mindanao River Basin Project, where you want to stop flooding in certain areas by adequate infrastructure to control the river network there, which empties out into the Rio Grande de Cotabato and to the bay there, which will also irrigate a lot of areas. You can already perhaps even plug the deficit in rice production, given the fact too that Mindanao is not hit as much by typhoons. As a matter of fact, in Ondoy last year, we lost 20 billion pesos in northern Luzon alone of a bumper rice harvest, and 6 billion in infrastructure destroyed irrigation systems. So that's one thing. We can have agricultural productivity, but there are two essential things for me that need to be solved: property rights and tenurial arrangements of agricultural land. I mean, agriculture is an economic activity as much as it is a physical activity, and it's subject to the same laws as others. There should be stability in ownership of the greatest asset that you use to have agricultural productivity, namely land. Fine, you can have agrarian reform, but do not make it a perpetual reform, because then it's not reform. It will be an unstable tenurial relationship. Implement it, fine. But after that, for example, a farmer is able to get, as an agrarian reform beneficiary, 3 hectares, which is the limit. Is able to make something out of it through government support perhaps. What is the first thing that farmer will do if he has capital? He will buy more land, because he wants to develop an economy of scale, and he wants to leverage his economic power. The first thing he will do. You will tell me now that we will have to confiscate 3 hectares again of his hard work land and distribute it again. I don't think that will work, because it will have an unstable effect on long-term capital investments, which are also necessary for agriculture. Secondly, there are 42 billion pesos in outstanding credits that farmers owe the government. No chance of being collected. I think we have to write it off. There's no chance for it to be collected anymore. And that is also the problem where you have an egalitarian program which is not adequately thought of. People end up more in debt. And right now, we continue to acquire land for distribution when we cannot even support those who have already been recipients of agricultural land with support services. I think you know the answer already. It's obvious. We should support those who have already been beneficiaries, prevent them from going to debt, hope that they be the next generation of agricultural entrepreneurs. Which I will segue into an important thing. It is, to me, a philosophical underpinning, and it's up to those who I will choose to run a combined agricultural program, at least for grains and basic crops, not for high-value crops. If you ask a farmer what his ambition is, perhaps, chances are he will tell you to earn enough so that his children need not be farmers anymore. So that his children can be something else, because it is physically demanding and the reward price-wise is not commensurate actually for the physical labor involved. But if there is some parity in price and some scale that a farmer can have, perhaps he will say, I want my son to be a farmer too. So the problem is, if we treat our agrarian reform program on a long-term basis as a peasant program, and with the workings of government, public choice theory, and the like, we will have a perpetual peasant program, institutionalized peasantry. What do you want for the agriculture? To me, is for a farmer to be rich, a farmer to have economic freedom and social standing too in his community, so that he will want his children to go on. Because if you have productive farmers who will have theoretically the economic basis to take care of themselves, you will have a food security program in the future, because they will say, I don't want my kids to do that anymore. And then we'll have to end up importing once again. So, to me, that is the basic philosophical debate within my mind. I could be wrong. So, the agricultural program would be dealing with the 42 billion outstanding, how to help make our farmers more productive on a sustainable basis. And number 3, how to ameliorate the condition if in the future climatic patterns change and hits our rice granaries, how to shift the livelihood of these farmers into something else, and to shift the location of our strategic rice, corn, and other grain areas, staple areas.
Okay. Maybe